Do you know who Japan's very first Pokemon master was?
Let me guess. Ash Ketchum?
Nope. He lived over 1,000 years ago. His name was Abeno Seimei, a real-life court wizard. Using an ancient magic called Onmyodo, he actually commanded terrifying beasts called Shikigami.
Like Mahoraga? That monster everyone's talking about?
Even crazier, legend says he controlled a swarm of 24 monsters of that exact caliber.
24? That sounds like a literal world-ending event.
That's exactly why every summoned beast you see in anime and games today was heavily inspired by him.
But did monsters and magic actually help?
So let's look at Japan's magical tradition. Today, we'll explore the history behind Onmyodo and the mysterious monsters, the Shikigami. The summoned Mahoraga from the anime has a full title: Eight-Handled Sword, Divergent Sila, Divine General Mahoraga.
Eight-handled sword?
The sword is a legendary treasure in records, rivaling the Japanese regalia, and the name literally just means a sword the length of 8 fists. In ancient Japan, the Bronze and Iron Ages arrived almost at the same time. While iron was used for practical tools, polished bronze was for sacred rituals, so this divine sword could be made of bronze.
So is it a holy monster?
Precisely. The original Mahoraga is one of the 12 divine generals who guard Buddhism. Each one is actually linked to a sign of the Chinese zodiac. So let's look at the historical Mahoraga. His animal attribute is the bunny.
This is the unstoppable monster?
I know, but don't blame the ancient sculptor. The craftsmanship is actually amazing. You just need a little imagination. Look, he has a cute little bunny on his head. Now picture those ears and the spiky hair stretching out like wings.
Okay, I'm squinting really hard right now.
See? The resemblance to the terrifying Mahoraga is uncanny. These 12 divine generals were famous gods worshipped in Japan for a long time. Because of this, they were slowly mixed up with Seimei's personal team, known as the 12 heavenly generals.
Hold on, so Mahoraga wasn't actually one of his summons?
Japan's first Pokemon master, Seimei, actually left behind documents detailing his ultimate team, the 12 heavenly generals.
The Azure Dragon and White Tiger. I know them.
Spot on. Since Seimei was an astronomer, the directions and seasons represented by these spirits are very important. First, let's look at the Chinese zodiac. Surprisingly, the Azure Dragon and White Tiger don't actually match up with the dragon or tiger zodiac signs.
Wait, it's literally in their names. Why?
Because in the spirit realm, elemental and seasonal rules take priority over the animal names. They're also split into fortune and misfortune types.
So, the good guys and the bad guys?
Think of it more like an RPG party. The fortune generals are your support class, buffs and healing. The misfortune ones, they're your heavy hitters and DPS. Furthermore, all things are built on the 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. These elements actually create the seasons. For example, when the fire element is strong, it becomes summer. When the earth element is strong, it becomes the 5th season, called Doyo.
A 5th season? When does that happen?
It's the transition period between 4 seasons. Even today, Japanese people eat grilled eel during Doyo to boost their stamina for the coming weather. Let's break down the squad. It's structured like an ancient Chinese court, 1 king on top, backed by 11 high-ranking officials. Guiran is the center of the 12 generals, acting like a king. Technically, he's an aide to the supreme Chinese god. Think of him like the Archangel Michael. He's the highest-ranking god, ruling over luck and fortune. It is believed that misfortune flows from the northeast, so despite being the most powerful summon, he is not seated in the center. Next, the 4 domestic officials. The prime minister in the form of a dragon. Azure Dragon runs the country, ruling over money, success, and celebrations. The mediator. Liu He settles disputes and plays matchmaker, ruling over marriage, reconciliation, and secret talks. The minister of rituals. Taichung upholds the righteousness of the dynasty, dealing with ceremonies, gifts, and wealth. The inspector, Taiyin, looks like a young girl, but is actually a ruthless old woman who exposes dark secrets and hidden affairs. Surprisingly, she's classified as a fortune general. Third, the 4 military enforcers. The supreme commander in the form of a dragon. Go Chen handles massive conflicts like wars, trials, and land disputes. The royal carriage guard. The flying snake Tang She senses anomalies, ruling over fear, anxiety, and sudden paranormal trouble. The chief of police in the form of a phoenix. The flaming peacock vermilion bird, who delivers the king's orders, judges people, and deals out punishment. The executioner, the white tiger, and the most dangerous of the evil generals. He deals with heavy crimes, death, sickness, bloodshed, and grudges. Finally, 3 generals with special shady jobs. The underground manager, a snake tangled around a turtle. He handles things lost before you even notice, like theft, parting, and vanishing wealth. The prosecutor, a judge, Tian Kong, who sees through lies, ruling over betrayal, fraud, distrust, and deception. The female ruler of the inner palace, where the empress and imperial consorts lived.
Ah, the imperial harem.
Not if you're thinking of a place where the emperor simply kept beautiful women. It was actually a political institution. Tian Ho stays in the shadows, using romance, women, and secrets to control politics from the inside out. The unseen ruler. You know how every anime and game has some kind of summoned monster? In Japan, that idea goes back to Shikigami, and we even have an old picture showing what they looked like. Not exactly what you were expecting?
Let me guess. They're secretly terrifying if I squint hard enough?
Not this time. This scene shows Seimei performing a life extension ritual. Those oddly shaped yokai are tsukumugami, the spirits causing the illness. But those sitting next to Seimei are his summoned Shikigami. He used them not only for important rituals, but also for chores like cleaning and opening doors.
So how did he actually summon these monsters? A magic circle?
They used physical catalysts called hitogata, small dolls, the older ones made of wood and the most common ones made of paper. And for curses, they used straw. Seimei could take a simple paper cutout and transform it into a bird, a beast, or even a person.
Ancient Pokeballs. Got it.
Seimei's wife was so terrified of the summons, so Seimei hid his Shikigami under a nearby bridge when they weren't working. But normally, the summons were invisible to humans. And here is the most important rule. To control a Shikigami, you have to know its true name. In this world, a name is a curse. If you don't know the name, the monster will never obey you.
That is such a cool mechanic.
If you want to know more about how name curses work in Japan, we've got a deep dive linked in the description.
So, what did an Onmyoji actually do all day? Was it just monster hunting?
It was a bit of everything. Seimei once used his skills to figure out which monster was kidnapping princesses in the capital.
So, he's basically Sherlock Holmes with a magic wand?
More like a government scientist. Their main job was tracking the fortune of the nation. It was a formal, state-funded academy for magic.
Wait, so a real-life Hogwarts?
It was a court-run institution that studied Chinese philosophy and had 4 departments: rituals with yin-yin magic, astronomy, timekeeping with water clocks, and calendar creation. Using your own calendar instead of the Chinese emperor's was a way of saying, we're an independent nation. We run on our own time. But outside of ritual duties, the yin-yang department also provided a very unique customer service to the nobility. And one of their biggest daily problems was encountering dead bodies while out for a walk.
Hold on. Why were there just bodies lying around?
The capital was incredibly overpopulated and poor. When disease struck the slums, many people were left on the streets. Since seeing a corpse was considered a spiritual curse, nobles paid Onmyoji to find safe paths for them.
So he was Google Maps, but with a corpse avoidance toggle? That's wild. Are we talking about China or Japan?
Chinese civilization is Asia's Greek civilization. Many things have been built on the foundation of that. Similarly, efforts have been made to interpret the world using the elements.
Earth, wind, fire, and water, right?
Close, but that's the Western version. The Asian 5 elements are wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. These aren't just elements. They're a cycle of how everything in the world interacts. What's cool is how they create and destroy one another. You'll recognize this mechanic immediately. For the creation cycle, wood feeds fire. Fire leaves ash, returning to earth. Earth produces metal. Metal collects condensation to create water, and water nourishes wood. Then there's the destruction cycle. Wood drains nutrients from the earth. Earth dams up water. Water douses fire. Fire melts metal. And metal axe chops down wood.
That is literally just the Pokemon type chart. They totally borrowed this, didn't they?
Honestly, most developers probably didn't even do it on purpose. This elemental logic is just so deeply baked into the cultural DNA of Asia that it feels like common sense. It's hardwired into how stories are told here. There's one final thing to understand about these monsters. In Japan, they weren't always the villains.
Wait, really? Even the scary ones?
It all comes down to animism, the idea that a spirit lives in everything. Take rain, for example. It's a blessing for crops, but it can also cause a deadly flood. Nature is terrifying and impossible to control. Because you can't conquer it, you have to learn to live with it. That exact mindset shaped how people viewed yokai. Even the terrifying yokai king, Shuten Doji, was enshrined as a deity after being defeated, rather than being erased from existence.
Ah, so fear and respect existed side by side. Defeating them wasn't always the end of the story.
Right. The ultimate goal was to understand the unknown and live alongside it. From Abe no Seimei accepting powerful spirits as Shikigami to modern children befriending monsters in Pokemon, this same philosophy has persisted in Japanese culture for centuries.
Culture retains a long memory.
Next time, we'll meet Japan's most infamous water yokai, the Kappa, and discover exactly how you might survive an encounter with one.
Help motivate us to make more videos by liking and subscribing. Thank you for watching!